So I think we're just about ready to get started, but I feel like in true tradition of the of what's been set by our chair here in Philippines, we have to start off by doing a selfie, right?
Yes.
And that's going to hopefully relax everybody and get you ready to think. I'm just very bad at doing selfies, but I'm going to try and make this work, okay? Are you ready? Right, so everybody wave enthusiastically. Wait. All right, I got it. Well, welcome everybody to the Products and Services session. This is our session where we try and feed back to the community what we have been doing over the last year, or basically 6 months since the last conference, and also looking at what we are going to be doing in the next 6 months or the next year that we hope is going to be feeding back into what you've actually asked us to do. So I'm just going to kick off just by referring back to, oh, I've got a green button, referring back to the survey that we conducted last year. Now, this is a really big deal for APNIC because it's something that we conduct every 2 years, and this is our way of taking the temperature of what's happening in the community and what's happening with our members and some of the challenges that you guys are facing. So this is a wonderful opportunity to feed what we're actually doing with the products and how we're servicing you as we move into the future. So this is what we use to inform us. So really what I'm going to try and do here today, or what, not me, but these wonderful people here, which I'll introduce to you shortly, what we're going to be trying to do today is talk about how the information that we've received from the survey then feeds back into what we're actually doing operationally to address some of the challenges that you've told us that you're facing. So just going to give you a very brief rundown on what the survey actually was. So it was conducted by Survey Matters. As you can see, we conducted interviews in 25 different economies. Is this thing working okay? Okay, so I feel like I'm fading in and out. So 25 different economies and approximately 1,600 interviews. And there were a lot of really candid results of some of the challenges that people had faced. I don't want to talk about COVID. I think everybody's sick of talking about COVID, but obviously it's a reality that we continue to live with, and in some economies they've had more challenges than others. Internet security is on everybody's minds and everybody's lips at the moment, and that's obviously a very strong area where we can be effective. Online meetings, training, everybody loves face-to-face. So they were talking about the ongoing value of the training that we provide, and also for the face-to-face stuff. APNIC is still consistently described as being highly regarded, trusted, reliable and professional, which is really great music to our ears, and we really appreciate hearing that. And then also there is a strong concern about equal access to the internet for all. So, but I'll drill into a few more of those things, but as we go through today, I hope we're going to address some more of those things for you. So just again to talk a little bit about the sample, the sample that we actually used, or the number of people that were engaged in the whole interview process. As I said, 1,621, and most of them were members, so you guys, some of them from the different NIRs, and then we had a little sample of others, so various different stakeholders from different communities and so on and so forth. So some of the biggest strategic and operational challenges, 50% in the middle there, right in the middle, internet security. So that is, as I said, seems to be on everybody's minds and everyone's lips, and this is a big challenge for the community to address. Hiring and keeping skilled employees, that is something that I guess we can assist with from a training perspective. Managing costs is a challenge again, because there were a lot of things where people had to pivot over the COVID period. Automation of network systems, 35%. Management of internet traffic, another big topic of conversation. Managing unintended consequences of regulation. It's an ongoing challenge for all of us, and particularly something that we're very mindful of at APNIC. and feeding into that policymakers, regulators' understanding of the internet. So those are the major, the strategic and operational challenges that came back to us. And then just moving on to the service satisfaction level. So if you look at the figures from 2018, which is the bottom line in all of those, and compare it to the 2022 figures, the general consensus is that there was a heightened sense of the importance of APNIC and value of services. So in a lot of cases, you'll see that the little bar that talks about excellence has increased, which is wonderful and good to see. But we want to see that continue to grow. And some of the other areas where there was clearly some challenges with, for example, value of membership, the very poor and poor has kind of dropped out almost altogether. So that's a really encouraging for us to see that clearly seem to be moving in the right direction. So now just moving on to one of the big questions that's obviously on my heart. I am Services Director for APNIC, so this is something that's very important to me. And that's really saying, the question was thinking about the value of services that you have used, how would you rate your experience? So as you can see that all of those experiences were highly rated. And I've used this slide as an opportunity to start talking about the panel that we've got here today. So each of them are going to be presenting kind of in turn around some of these various different things that you've raised with us as being areas that you feel we can help you address. I'll introduce them as we go through. So obviously the APNIC Academy is something that everybody is very grateful for and values highly. And Chihu's going to be talking a little bit more about that. So he's a smaller, thinner version than that photograph. But Chihu's been involved with APNIC, and I forget how many decades it is now, Chihu, 2 decades. In various different capacities. So I always refer to him as APNIC royalty because he's been around for so long. But he's going to be talking us through the training academy and some of the other things. So resource certification, RPKI. Tom Harrison is I call him the king of the registry. And that is something that I don't think he actually takes time out to sleep very often. But he's the keeper of the registry. Then obviously ROA security, that's something Anna's going to be talking about. Just giving you a few more pointers in that direction. And Anna's originally a local from the Philippines, so I'm pretty sure she's going to help us greet you in various different local languages, which is great. So that's not shown in a comparison to the 2020 because that isn't a question we had in the 2020 survey. But as you can see, that is something that was rated very highly as well. So then moving on to online presentation and conferences. So conferences isn't really anything to do with us apart from the fact that we get to attend and address you every year, which is fantastic. But the online presence is something that is super important for us and has continued to be important as the effects of COVID have continued. So Andre Gelderblom is going to be talking to us a little bit more about, he's king of my APNIC. So he's going to be talking to us a little bit more about that. Raf, who's online. Where's Raf?
Over in front.
Oh, hi. I thought you were on the screen behind me. So Raf is going to be presenting remotely. So he's not with us. He was with us last year, but he's with us remotely today. And then Lily, who is going to be talking about how we are changing the internet. Lily's my favorite UX designer in the whole world. And as I said, always spends her time looking at your fingerprints to see where you've been on our website to see how we can improve our services to you. And then I put Vivek on the top of the top-rated APNIC services because He looks after the member services division. He's my right and left hand. And so anything you ever wanted to know about services, he can probably answer for you. So that's my esteemed panel here today, and they're going to be addressing some of these things more as we move through. So moving on from a little bit of a brag spot on how well we've done, just on to how APNIC can help. So this is again the response that came back from you. So 35% said training. Again, it's something that's highly valued. I honestly think that the fact that we provide vendor neutral training from people that actually have experience on the ground and have worked as network engineers, it's not just an academic knowledge, is remarkable. So again, the community is underscoring the fact that they really value that. Case studies, people are looking for more case studies, and we've got a fabulous comms team that spend a lot of time curating the blogs and providing really valuable information. So if you haven't looked at the APNIC blog, please get engaged with it on a more regular basis. Security, again, how can we help with that? So we have a range of different topics that we can use in terms of training. We've got security experts in the building who are, again, their knowledge is just remarkable. So feel free to access that anytime. And awareness, so better education and awareness of government about the internet, and that is something that we feel very strongly about too, so we're continuing to do everything we possibly can in that area, but it's good to know that we have your support to continue in that vein. So then just, I have to mention this, I'm just throwing this in because this is something that, again, Chi is going to be talking about, is the mandate, I guess, from the community to invest in infrastructure. So Chi is going to be talking a little bit about that later as well, to give you some report back on that. We can't really do much with helping you to find human resources. We have our own challenges with that, but we're doing what we can from a training perspective. So with that, I am first of all going to hand on to Vivek, who's going to be talking about the historical resource transition, give you an update on that. I know it's something everybody's really interested in. So this is a little bit of a backward look, and then after that, we'll move on to some of the other, this isn't really relating back to the survey, but some of the other challenges that you guys have said that you'd like some assistance with. So the way that we will be conducting this is super casual. So if anybody has a question, feel free to raise your hand, come to the microphone, introduce yourself, ask a question. We've got a panel, as you've just heard, of people that have an enormous breadth and depth of experience. So there's probably not a single question you could raise that we can't answer. So please feel free to come to the microphone. For those of you who are online, hi. And please feel free to throw your questions into the chat, or if you want to actually go on audio, I believe we can manage that as well. So again, just please tell us who you are, and we'll, if you've got any questions, then just feel free to jump in at any stage and ask any one of the panelists. So I'm now going to hand on the clicker and be quiet and let these guys take it away. So, Vivek.
Thanks, Carla.
Green button.
Okay, so this is going to be an update on the progress we have made with this historical resource transition project. So for those of you who may not be familiar with this project, historical resources are IPs and ASNs that were distributed prior to APNIC's existence. And for that reason, APNIC does not have any agreements with these custodians, and their resources don't come under the APNIC policy framework. So there are no organization objects for these IPs, there's no IRT objects, and so on. So a couple of years ago, the APNIC EC passed Resolution 2021-09. And basically, this resolution says that all historical holders in the APNIC region need to manage their historical resources under an APNIC account by 1st Jan 2023. And failing this, APNIC will remove these resource registration from the WHOIS database. Now, because we need to remove the registration, we also need to mark these resources as reserved, which means the resource is not delegated, and they are not available for delegation. So we started off this project towards the end of 2021 and identified around 7.3 million such unclaimed historical resources distributed amongst roughly 3,500 different custodians. Apart from this, we also got our systems and processes ready. We hired two new team members, Jordan and Baya, to help us with this project. And then in early 2022, we started to reach out to these historical holders. So when we started off, we marked all these cases as yet to contact. And then as we worked on these cases through the year, some of those cases changed to prefixes being claimed, which subsequently got claimed. Some cases became not contactable, and so on. So as of a few weeks ago, this is what the breakdown of the different case outcomes looks like. And I'll explain in the next few slides what these outcomes mean and what actions we have taken. All right, so first we have 409 cases with the outcome retained by custodians. So these are cases where the custodians have successfully claimed the resource and they are managed under APNIC accounts. Almost half of these claims have been done by existing APNIC members, and the rest of them got claimed by new members. We also have 56 cases with the outcome returned to APNIC. So these are cases where the custodians have informed us they no longer need these resources, and they also completed the declaration form to renounce these resources. So as a result of that, we have recycled these addresses so they are available to delegation to other members under the last/8 policy. Yep. So we were also able to recycle addresses associated with further 69 cases under the recovery of unused historical resource policy. So as per this policy, we have checked these resources were never visible in the routing table. And since we were not able to make contact with these custodians, as per this policy, we have recycled those addresses. All right, next we have 127 cases with no longer needed. So these are cases where the custodians told us they don't need the resource anymore, but they were unable to complete the declaration form to renounce them. And for most of these cases, the reason for that was these organizations are no longer legally registered, so they couldn't complete those forms. So as per the resolution, we have removed these registrations from the WHOIS database. And then we have about 880 cases which are not contactable. So these are cases where we could not find any functioning contact information about these resources. There's no company registration, there's no websites, and because they're not routed, there's no option to contact the upstream either. So we have removed the registration for these resources. So now moving on to cases which still require some further actions from us. So we have almost 1,300 cases which have no response. Now, when we presented this at APNIC 54 in Singapore, we had over 500 such no response cases which had routed resources. And the feedback we got was we should not remove those registrations and try harder to contact these custodians. So after sending multiple emails, we were able to reduce these no response routed cases from over 500 to about 150 now. And we're going to send some final reminders and encourage all these pending cases to claim their resources. All right, so we also have about 500 cases which are in the process of being claimed by custodians. Now, generally, this process takes a week, maybe a couple of weeks at the most, but we have close to 300 such cases which are stuck in this process of being claimed. Some of these custodians have not completed the claim forms. Some have not submitted the membership application, and a handful of them, maybe about a dozen or so, have simply refused to join as APNIC members. So we're going to send a final reminder to them to ask them to go through this claim process, failing which we will remove those registrations. And then lastly, we have 20 cases which are routed without authority. So these are cases where the custodians have told us we don't need these IPs, you can take it back, but for some reason, their ISP continues to announce them. So we're going to send a final reminder asking these ISPs to stop announcing these prefixes and after that, we will remove the registrations. So those were all the different case outcomes, and I have summarized them for you on this slide. So to conclude, there are 409 cases where the resources have been claimed by the custodians. We have recycled resources associated with 125 cases and removed registration for resources associated with over 1,000 cases. We still have about 1,800 cases which are pending the claim process. So we're going to make a final attempt to help these custodians claim these resources, failing which we will remove these resource registrations. Yeah, that is it from me. Are there any questions? Abhishek.
Yeah, hi Vivek, Abhishek from Iron. I have a question that what were the resources which you have reclaimed via either historic or unused, will they go to the 103 block or for the fresh allocation to new members, or will they reserved for future allocation once this 103 is exhausted?
So there are two different things. We have removed registration for a bunch of prefixes, about 1,000, but we have already recycled resources as well for a bunch of other cases. The ones which are recycled have been made available already, so they will get delegated to other members under the last/8 policy. So that's the only policy we have currently to make delegations.
So yeah, exactly. So is there any new policy for the
historic
delegation
one,
of the new? Yeah,
we have an author right here. So Jody has a proposal.
Okay,
I will
you.
let Jody summarize it.
Cue Geordie. Yeah.
Jordi Palet. Yeah, that's actually the reason I started to work on, I think it's 147, if I recall correctly, and it will be presented tomorrow. I submitted yesterday night a new version. Please read it. It's not changing what it has been discussed already previously. It's just accommodating a shorter text and more clear, and also a link to the EC resolution, because I just was writing now an email about that. The link will not be visible in weeks or months on top of the postings of the APNIC website. So it's interesting to provide that link. But I think that way we will sort out the problem of having reserved a space that we cannot use anymore.
Yeah, spot on. And the other thing I also wanted to just point out is that those numbers that Vivek presented were a snapshot as at the 14th of February. I'm not quite sure why he chose Valentine's Day, because it's a bit of a love-hate relationship with this project. But if we looked at the resources and where we're at literally just 2 weeks later, and it's already moved. So that little needle of the mix of what's happening is moving every day. We have a really nice dashboard that shows us exactly what's going on, but it is something that we are pushing as much as we can. We did extend, even though we had a 31 December deadline, because we didn't have any clear direction from the community about what to do with those resources, and we also did make a promise to the community, as Vivek pointed out, that we weren't going to remove any registration until we had exhausted all possible ways of trying to find the resource holder. So that is why we've not just chopped everyone off on the 31st of December, but we're continuing to work on this project. So if you do know anybody that is holder resources, or if you're one of them yourselves listening online or here in the room, please, we would love to get this resolved as quickly as possible. So thank you, Vivek. So just moving on now to Andre. Andre's going to bring us up to speed with a little bit of a few developments on the roadmap with the member server, with the My APNIC product. Andre.
Thank you. So today I'd like to talk about a couple of things and a few changes that might be happening over the next few months. We're going to make some changes to the account contacts. I'd also just like to talk a little bit about Orbit and remind everyone about the product roadmap. So firstly, some of the changes that we will be making over the next few months to the account contacts. So for some background to the challenges that we're currently experiencing, there's sort of two aspects of this. One is there's quite a bit of confusion around how the account contacts link to an APNIC login. And there's quite a bit of confusion around the fact that both these email addresses can be used to authenticate. And the other side of it is also there's lots of, as you're aware, lots of successful cyber attacks on large companies. In Australia, we've had Optus have been compromised. We've had Medibank compromised. So it's a little bit of concerning that they're actually managing to get into a lot of these really big companies. Also, there's an alarming rise in the number of known compromised passwords that are being handed to us through third-party companies through our partner TrustWave. So these are kind of some of the challenges that we're facing at the moment with around the account contacts. So what we want to do is do some changes to try and address these. One of them is around the confusion that is there today with an account contact and a APNIC login. What we want to introduce is that all account contacts will now need to have an APNIC login. So there'll be this one-to-one relationship of an account contact to a login, and they'll use the profile, the APNIC login profile, to manage their contact information. And then what we'll do is we'll phase out the current account contacts over a period of about a year and give you the right tools and processes and support in order to retire those current account contacts. And then thirdly, what we would like to do to address a lot of the security issues is start implementing mandatory two-factor authentication. So what does this actually look like if we were to do this over the next couple of months? As you can see on the, I think it's the left, yep. On the left-hand side, we have the current version of what's in there at the moment. And on the right-hand side is what we're proposing for the future. So you can see that on the left-hand side, it's not clear who has access to APNIC. It's not clear which ones are APNIC logins and which ones are simply account contacts. We want to address this by on the right-hand side showing that all the top-level ones will be account contacts with APNIC logins. And so it's very simple to see it. And in order to add new account contacts, you would simply click the invite button, and that would then send out an invite to anyone who does have an APNIC login and invite them to join the APNIC account. Or if they don't have an APNIC login, it'll request that they get one and then join the APNIC account. So from there, they'll go into a pending state, and this pending state will allow the corporate contact to manage resending, deleting, or withdrawing an invitation. And then finally, you'll notice that at the bottom, it's very clear that these are the account contacts that we'd like to retire over time. And we want to give tools and self-service tools for you guys to be able to transition these old accounts to either APNIC logins or to delete them and remove them from the account. So some of the benefits of going down this path is that it's a lot easier to understand the relationship between a login and a current account contact. It also drastically improves the way we authenticate and identify different accounts. And this will help us improve auditing and accountability in general on the accounts. And finally, introducing 2FA, it kind of puts the participant and makes them active in their own security, where at the moment, sometimes you can log in, you forget and reset, it's easy. But if there's 2FA, it's important that you're part of that process. So we have an implementation timeline for doing this. We would like to implement mandatory two-factor around about July. Sorry, is it not? We want to implement mandatory two-factor around about July. And then from about October 2023, we want to do where all new account contacts will be invited via APNIC login. So you won't be able to add a new account contact without them having an APNIC login. Then there's going to be a transition period for about a year. It's just less than a year. Around about July next year, we will no longer recognize the old contacts on the account as a way to authenticate into the account. So through this period, there'll be ongoing support from our help desk team, as well as ourselves. We'll ensure that there's tools inside My APNIC to assist us transition. And we'll also be listening to any feedback in case there is any edge cases or major issues where we can adapt to that as quick as possible. So that's basically what we want to do in terms of the account contacts. The next thing I'd like to talk about is Orbit. Now, many of you know we launched Orbit as an MVP at APNIC 54, which was only a couple of months ago. And Orbit is a sort of an evolution of the mailing lists to a web-based communication portal in a sense, and it's there to enable and support communication, discussion. And as you probably have seen, for many of you who have been participating, it's been a really good tool in the lead up to this APNIC 55, where the community can engage and also have visibility into a lot of the conversations that are happening online, whereas many times in mailing lists, the visibility is quite hidden. When we launched Orbit, we had some targets that we want to achieve so that we could measure whether we were actually successful in achieving an online community that was useful to the APNIC community. So one of the targets was that we would like to get 650 new registered users over a year, and we are on track with that, with more than 100 each month, quite easily at this stage, which is quite encouraging. Also, we wanted to achieve at least 1,500 new posts over a year. And again, we're well on track with that one, with over 300 new posts every month. And then Orbit is what we want to also do is expand the community as a whole. So Orbit consists of smaller communities that link into the larger Orbit community, which is part of the APNIC community. And Sienna, who's here somewhere, there's Sienna. Sienna is our online community manager. So if you have any questions or have a community have a community to grow or expand, please reach out to Sienna or myself, and we'll help you out with that. And then finally, we will be doing continuous improvement on Orbit. So over the next few months, some of the features we want to introduce. Currently, the editor in Orbit, as you can see over there, is very bland. So we'll be introducing the ability to add in rich text, bold, italic, underline, etc. This will make the content a little bit more dynamic and interesting, and we hope that that will encourage a little bit more participation. We're also going to allow embedded images, and we're exploring embedded videos as well, because at the moment, if you send images, they're just sent as attachments. If we can embed the images and make them fit into the community well, then again, it just makes it a little bit more interesting and a little bit more dynamic to participate with. And then in general, we'll be doing performance improvements. So if you want to keep up to date with the developments on Orbit, on my APNIC, or anything else that anyone else here is talking about, we do have the roadmap, which is roadmap@apnic.net. And on the left-hand side, you'll see you can filter by products. You can also filter by teams, and that'll allow you to keep up to date with what we're basically saying here and the progress through the various developments on our products. There is a link at the top of it that does take you to a feedback group in Orbit. So you're welcome to give us feedback at any time through that group. We probably will create more groups, but for now, that's the catch-all for everything. And that's it from me. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Andre. I just wanted to point out that this Orbit is the way that we are trying to continue the conversation. So it's not just taking the temperature, as I suggested, when we are doing the survey twice a year, but actually to have an ongoing conversation with the community about what do you think about what we're doing. So so please do engage with that, and do let us know. This is a great platform for you to continue to engage with us. So one of the questions that I can't help asking, having listened to that, is what do you guys think about the two-factor authentication? It is, we are doing this in answer to your asking us for more security and more for us to be more secure generally. But we understand that there is going to be a little bit of, there's going to be something that you guys need to do as well. So there will be a little bit of a burden on you to resolve this. So everybody, fans, not fans, how do you guys feel about it, and anyone have any comments? Oh, you're all very quiet. Oh.
Yeah. Hi, good morning. I have a question with respect to the accounts. So I am basically from a national knowledge network, NCAN, where we are connecting more than 1,500 institutes. So we have only a slash 16 block. But yeah, what we did was we allocated 32 IPs to every institute of which is connected to us, and we add the information and in APNIC IRT and IP resource net name numbers. So my question is whether all those 1,500 users which I have added in IRT, they are roughly more than 1,500 IRTs in APNIC database under NKN. So whether I have to onboard all 1,500 in an APNIC account, I personally will not want to do that until you force me and block my account. So which you did after Prop 125. So until you force me, I will not be able to, will not like to do that.
So are these account contacts for the membership account, or are these IRT contacts and maintainer type contacts? What?
They're IT contacts. They don't need to have.
Yeah, so IRT contacts aren't affected by this in any way.
I think we've had this discussion. So your IRT contacts, they don't need access to MyPinic because through the validation process, which Jody proposed, they will just get the email, they click, it gets validated. So they don't need to register an APNIC login. I know you have access to, the APNIC login. So only you need that access. So if you need to change an IRT email, you can do that. But in terms of the RTs, they just manage the RT emails out of bounds from MyPinic.
Okay, as per this account details which you show, so we don't need account to be created.
Not for all your RTs.
Thank you.
Yeah, I got Abhishek from my. So it's regarding your. I have a comment. Don't have a question. So regarding your the comment from us regarding the two-way authentication which you have introduced. So I personally support this from Irene that yes, security is important for everyone. So yes, there is a bit of work for us. Additional work is done, but that is okay. But security is more important for us. So I support this two-way authentication.
Thank you. And I think that's the general feedback we have. So if anyone feels any differently, let us know. But as I said, we are aware that there will be a little bit more burden on you, but we are going to do everything we can to support you. If there's no further questions, anyone? No? Okay. So I think then we'll move on to Hannah, who's going to give us a little bit of an update again, addressing a lot of the questions that we had, and a lot of the feedback that we had on the survey was around RPKI and IPv6 deployment and where we're at. So Anna is going to take it away.
Thank you, Carla. Good morning, everyone. Maganda umaga, that's in Tagalog. So I'm going to present about the state of RPKI and IPv6 deployment in the Asia-Pacific region. I'm going to start with RPKI, or Resource Public Key Infrastructure. First, what is RPKI? So it is a robust security framework that associates account holders and their internet resources. What can RPKI do? It can help prevent potential route leaks due to misconfiguration or misorigination from your routers. How do you implement RPKI? You can implement it by creating ROA, or Route Origin Authorization. So ROA is a digitally signed cryptographic object that verifies your IP address block and authorized AS number to originate routes to one or multiple prefixes. So with a ROA, you as a resource holder is attesting that the AS number you specify in the ROA object is authorized to announce your prefixes. And this attestation can be used cryptographically through RPKI, so it is secure. How do you access RPKI service? So for APNIC account holders, there's a secure online web portal called My APNIC, where you can manage your internet resources, update your contact information, and access RPKI. So if you are using My APNIC to access RPKI, first step is to create APNIC login. Andre mentioned that earlier. And then from your APNIC login, you need to link your APNIC account. And you should be able to access Resource Manager. And from Resource Manager, it will help you enable your RPKI engine. Once enabled, you should be able to manage and create your ROAs. So after creating ROAs, the next step is that you can do is to implement ROV or route origin validation. So more networks are now using ROV to ensure that their ROAS are up to date. The main reason for that is because more ISPs are now starting to drop routes due to invalid ROAS. If you look at that link, it is maintained by Cloudflare. It has the list of networks that has started implementing their RPKI ROVs. So if you're a contact in my APNIC who needs to manage ROAS, there's two things that you need to remember. First, make sure that your contact permission has resource certification enabled. And second, you must have two-factor authentication in your APNIC login. And by default, corporate contacts and technical contacts should have the privilege to manage ROAS in my APNIC. Okay, so this graph shows the ROA coverage for both P4 and V6 in Asia. The measurement is done by APNIC Labs team, and at the moment, we are sitting at 35%. The second graph shows the ROA coverage for Oceania, and it's now sitting at 80%. So most of these are coming from the updates in economies such as New Zealand and Australia. All right, so this map shows the ROA coverage for the whole Asia Pacific. And if you look at the light green colors, it indicates the economies in the region who has over 90% coverage. And some of the economies in our region has over 90% coverage are the Philippines, Malaysia, Nepal, Taiwan, and Australia. So when APNIC conducted a survey last year in 2022, 60% of the respondents has indicated that they still haven't deployed their RPKI. And 38% from these respondents have indicated that the main reason they haven't deployed RPKI is because they don't have enough skills and knowledge to be able to implement it. So APNIC training team is continuing to conduct monthly online training to reach out to certain economies to help members to deploy RPKI and create a ROAS. Okay, so that's it for RPKI. I'm now going to move on to the state of IPv6 deployment in the Asia Pacific region. Okay, so across the 5-year period, the global IPv6 capability has increased from 18% to 38%. Again, this is based on APNIC Labs measurement. And most of these deployments are actually happening across sub-regions in the Asia Pacific. So it only goes to show that you can deploy IPv6 and that you are capable of using it. So again, based on the survey that APNIC conducted in 2022, it's showing that IPv6 is becoming less of a challenge, because when we have conducted the same survey in 2020, it shows that 34% of the respondents found it challenging to deploy IPv6, but that's the down to 66% when we have a recent survey. Now, in terms of the challenges on IPv4 scarcity to be able to transition to IPv6, again, based on the survey, 30% of the respondents have indicated that one of the challenges in obtaining more IPv4 addresses is the increasing cost due to high demand. And 27% of the respondents have indicated that it's also a challenge to find them now in the market. Okay, so we mentioned earlier about the deployments happening across sub-regions in the Asia Pacific. It actually varies in phase. So for South Asia, India is the main economy who has made a remarkable deployment in terms of V6, and Reliance Jio is the organization deploying V6 in India. So in 2018, they picked their deployment and they're continuing to push to their limits in terms of deployment. Now for Southeast Asia, Vietnam has made significant deployments sometime in 2018, but slowed down between 2021 to 2022. Now, other economies in Southeast Asia who made significant deployments are the Philippines, Malaysia, Myanmar, and Thailand. For East Asia, China is slowly but steadily growing their V6 deployment. which is similar case to Australia, which is part of the Oceania subregion. Okay, so now this table shows the list of all economies around the world that has IPv6 visibility. And again, based on the world average of 38%, in this table, we have color-coded the economies in the Asia Pacific who are above average. They are color-coded in green, those on average, color-coded in yellow, and those below average. And we can conclude that from the 56 economies in the Asia Pacific region in 2018, there's only 23% of the economies who has visible IPv6 capability that has over 1%. But that has increased to 44% in 2022. So we can definitely say that Asia Pacific has punches above its weight when it comes to V6 deployment. That's it from me, and thank you for listening.
Thanks, Anna. Any comments or questions on that? I think that all those statistics are very clear, and again, just links back to some of the questions and shows some of the progress that we've made over time. No? Online. Good job. Sunny's applauding. One man applaud. Thanks, Anna. I think we're on to Tom next. Am I right? No, Raf. Oh, sorry, Raf. Hi, I forgot about you. Raf's online. So Raf's going to be talking about the information products and some of my favorite things that are going on in APNIC. So Raf, take it away.
Thanks, Carla. Can you hear me well? Okay, thank you. Next slide, please.
Oh, that's
Okay, let's start with a quick update on Dash.
Yeah.
On the first quarter of 2022, we released a feature that sends alerts to members by email about suspicious traffic coming from their network. On the second quarter, we released the routing status feature. And then on the third quarter, we released the routing status alerts supporting notifications by email, SMS, and Slack. I'll be talking more about these features in a moment. Then SMS and Slack support for suspicious traffic alerts will be released in the next month, March 2023. And routing status alerts will get out of the beta phase also next month. Next slide, please. Okay, so Dash routing status. As I previously mentioned, we released last year this feature in Dash. I won't get into much detail since it was covered already in the previous conference, APNIC 54. But basically, it allows members to visualize their routing status for their network, identifying consistency among BGP, RPKI, and IRR. It provides a dashboard to easily spot issues, and it also provides suggested actions on how to resolve the inconsistencies. Next slide. So alerts for routing status. On the third quarter of last year, we released the routing status alerts. This was also covered in APNIC 54, so I won't get into much detail here. Members can receive alerts for routing consistencies, missing ROAs or route objects, and unexpected or missing BGP announcements. They can receive the alerts by email, SMS, or Slack. Next slide, please. Dash widget. So this year, we are implementing a widget that will be available at the new MyAPNIC dashboard. So basically, members logging into MyAPNIC, they will be informed about any routing consistencies and suspicious traffic coming from their network. This is a conceptual design you can see on the slide of how the widget is planning to look like. We plan to make this widget available on the third quarter of this year. Next slide. So this is how the widget will be presented in the MyAPNIC dashboard. This is just a draft and subject to review. Next slide, please. We received feedback from the community in the last conference, APNIC 54, And we are expanding the channels on which alerts can be sent to members. So based on the feedback, we will be implementing support for WhatsApp and webhooks, and we plan to release this support by the third quarter of 2023. Next slide. And finally, Rex, our resource explorer. So we are upgrading Rex to provide global data instead of only data for the Asia Pacific. It will also allow users to filter data based on RAR with this upgrade. This work involves a re-architecture that will enable collaboration with other IRRs. And this will happen because right now Rex rely on internal data source, not public. And with the re-architecture, we will only rely on public data sources such as delegate stats, RDAP, and APNIC labs data. So this work is planned to be released on the second quarter of this year. And that's all from me. Thank you.
Thanks, Raf. Oh. We were slightly ahead of you, Sunny. So yeah, really, really interesting. And as I said, I think Dash is one of my favorite products. If you haven't actually engaged with that yet, then please do. This is a wonderful opportunity. Any questions for Raf or any comments? No. Okay, so I'm going to hand over the power now to Tom.
All right. Okay, great. So since APNIC 54, we've completed route management pre-validation. We have two projects that are nearing completion. So one is ASN delegation identity, and the other is the alternative WHOIS authorization model. And we have two things we'll be working on later in the year. One is RPKI assigned checklists, and the other is the production implementation of our registry API. So route management pre-validation is functionality in my APNIC that validates changes that people submit via route management to make sure that they're not going to cause problems in BGP. So for example, if you have a user submitting a route for a 22, but they set the max length to 22, even though they have announcements for 24s in BGP, this will alert them that if they go ahead with that change, that's going to invalidate those announcements. But importantly, it's just a warning because there will be some situations where people will need to make those changes anyway. Probably the most important one is where there's an incorrect or an inadvertent announcement in BGP that the user is actually deliberately intending to invalidate. So yeah, that'll be an option for people. And this has been available in production for about 2 weeks. The first project we have that's nearing completion is the ASN delegation identity project. And this relates to the situation where a member applies for an ASN on behalf of one of its customers. So to date, what we've done in that situation is put the member's details into the AUTNUM record in WHOIS. And that means that third parties who are trying to verify who the actual operator of an ASN is can't do that definitively because they can't distinguish ASNs that the member has in the member's own right from the ASNs that the member has got for one of its customers. So this is scheduled for release at the end of Q1, and after it's released, we'll put the customer's details into the AUTNUM record to solve this problem. And you can see an example of what that will look like on this slide. So there'll be an organization object for the customer, and there'll also be a link to the organization object for the member who applied for the ASN. And another good thing about this is that it brings us into alignment with how RIPE handles this situation. So it helps to improve cross-RIR consistency as well. The other project nearing completion is the alternative WHOIS authorization model. And this is about deprecating password use in WHOIS updates in favor of OAuth tokens. So that brings various security benefits. Probably the most important one is that the tokens actually used for WHOIS updates, called access tokens, are short-lived. So if one of those tokens is compromised, it's not that big a deal. And particularly compared with the situation where a password is compromised, because those are almost all cases long so compromises there. This change will be transparent to users, except for those who are carrying out WHOIS updates via mail, because those updates will include passwords in line at the moment, and the users will have to switch to using tokens. So when we release this work at the end of Q1, we'll be talking to those users and helping to transition them. And then once they've been handled, we'll actually disable password use in production. The first project we have coming up later in the year is API signed checklists, and this is functionality that supports the signing of arbitrary files and documents using API. So a couple of use cases or situations where this could be useful. PeeringDB has a process where they register people to make updates for a given ASN. So they could use this to sort of more securely verify that somebody has authority over an ASN. And there are also various bring your own IP services that cloud providers offer. And this sort of thing can help to streamline the processes there and also to make them more consistent across the different RIAs. This was last discussed at APNIC 52. The main thing that's happened in the interim is that the specification has been completed as RFC 9323. And we're going to start work on this in Q2. We'll do a signer implementation in my APNIC and a validator that's available via the public website. And finally, we have the production implementation of our registry API. So this will support various registry operations, WHOIS updates, RDNS updates, route management, stuff like that. We did a testbed in Q1 of last year, and we will start working on this in Q3 of this year with a view to a release later this year. And that's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Again, some really exciting projects coming up, and something that's going to make things much more robust and secure. So again, answering the question that you guys posed through the survey. So any questions for Tom or any comments on the direction that we're taking? Because if not, then we're going to move on to our biggest chunk of our section, which is Chehu is going to be talking about both he's got two topics that he's covering, training and development, and also infrastructure. So yeah, thanks, Chehu.
Thank you, Carla. Good morning, everybody. My name is Chehu Chiang. I'm the Infrastructure and Development Director of APNIC, and I'm in charge of the internal technical infrastructure and operation, as well as external technical training and development work. I will firstly cover the training and development aspects. As mentioned earlier, we receive a lot of feedbacks from our community through the APNIC survey, and some of the key findings from the survey are training is highly valued by the community. I think, of course, this will give us, a lot of incentive to do more. And also regarding the topics, one of the topics with high interest would be security. In fact, a lot of people actually highlighted that a lot. So for certain going forward, we will do more work on security. And we also receive feedbacks about asking us to do a bit more about IXP related training and development work and peering as well. So yeah, we also would put more effort into that. And I won't go through the quotes over here. These are from the survey. As you can see, people are actually highlight that they have skill shortage. They have so that's why they need training from us, and also the security part would be the main challenges and things like that. As for the operational challenges, security would be the highest. Here as well, regarding the strategic challenges, the skill shortage, and also security. We addressed it by offering, our training mostly. And our training, now we use APNIC Academy as a branding for all of our training and technical assistance activities. And we do not just do face-to-face training, we also do online. We do instructor-led as well as self-paced training. And we, of course, will keep a good balance. We all know that like face-to-face training would be the most effective. But the issue is it's not scalable because we need to travel to different locations in order to every time we may only be able to train 30 people, 40 people. But if we do online training, actually you can cover hundreds or even thousands of people. So we need to keep a very good balance of different kind of training method. And we cover not just theories, but also practical part. In fact, the practical part, the hands-on part, is the most wanted by our community. That's why we put a lot of effort into that. We cover not just the basic level. We try to cover the advanced level as well. And our final goal would be to offer full certification with full curriculum. The highlights of course, now is post-COVID. We are returning to face-to-face training. We'll do it gradually. Of course, for some of the locations, we can travel more easily. We will, of course, go back to those locations earlier. But for those which are more difficult to reach, we'll, go back to those locations later. But at the same time, we also will continue to do hybrid training. The meaning of hybrid training is, we gather, the students, the training attendees in one place in a room, and then we conduct the training remotely from our office. So we would use that as an option if we find a copy to think that is difficult. But in order to make sure that people are more committed to attend our training, so we'll charge nominal fee, and members will receive discount. Along the last few years when we did a lot of online training, the turn-up rates in fact is quite low. Like if we receive 100 registration, we might only have 30 people attended at the end. So that's why for the training that we would have high cost to conduct, we want to have this kind of commitment from the attendees. And also this is of course for our own organized training. We also would partner with the NOCs and other organizations, partners to do the so-called sponsored training. We do the training as a way of sponsorship, so that we can do more training. The main difference, of course, is the registration and the arrangement would be done mostly by our partners, including the NOCs. As for this online instructor-led training, very much like the so-called Zoom training, we'll continue to do that because it can reach more people. But of course, as I mentioned, the downside is turn-up rate is usually quite low, and of course we'll use different method, maybe shorten the training and also doing it in different time zone, etc., so as to suit more people. And now we are having 2 sub-regional teams so that we can do more focused training and try to address the needs of individual economies more. Hope it's getting more effective than before. And also we are trying to engage more and more community trainers to help us to do the training and technical assistance. This is very important for us to scale up, our training. As for the naming, we will try to use the APNIC Academy training going forward. More about the community trainers part, as I mentioned, we use it to scale up our training and technical assistance work. We have a new program called Retain Community Trainer. We did the trial last year. It was quite successful. And we had up to 5 retained community trainers for 5 economies. And so that we can do like, monthly, even monthly like training in those locations. And we will cover more economies in this year. And the targets of this year is we'll maintain 12 plus RCTs and like 30 plus voluntary CTs, for this year. And of course, we need a lot of like participation from the community, especially, the engineers who have good enough technical knowledge and have passion in training their like community. If you are interested or if you have referrals, please go to this page to submit your application.
Chihu, can I interrupt there for 1 second?
Yeah.
So I just really want to underscore this because this has been incredibly successful. We have found that the level of engagement from the whole community when we get a community trainer involved has been quite remarkable. I really appreciate the work that Chihu and his team are doing to bring them on board. But again, if there is anyone that you know of, if you're interested, anyone online or in this room, then please reach out. That's the address. These slides are also available online, so you can go back to this later. But I just really wanted to highlight that. It's just a wonderful project.
Very, very important. So we need more helping hands, and please refer them to us. More about the security training and development work. We do have security training regularly. Our focuses include like network routing security, DNS security, information cybersecurity, and we will continue to do more. We also would do like CSERT development with our dedicated security team. We also have the community HoneyNet and security threat intelligence platform. We feed the data to the Dash platform that Ralph mentioned, and of course we'll continue to increase the HoneyNet sensors and also partners, and we'll do events to help with conducting more engagement with our partners. As for the IXP and peering part, in fact, we are also doing a lot. We'll continue to do more. Technical assistance and training would be, of course, the primary focus. But we also do a lot of IXP development work. Now we have a package whenever we do IXP development, we'll cover IXP manager in order to help them to manage the IXP better. We'll include the ROV deployment in the route server, and we'll also have like en routes, together with the development and write Atlas Anchor so as to do better measurement. And together with, of course, like this kind of development, we have like partners, including APNIC, ISOC, and APNIC Foundation for the equipment support. And on the other hand, we also do sponsorships for like tools and like different software that IXP would use a lot, including IXP Manager, Peering DB, and IXP DB, so that this kind of useful tools can have like continuous development. And for the event side, we will support like APNIC, Peering Asia, and also different peering forums that people would conduct. So this is the support and development work that we do to address the need for IXP and peering. And of course, I cannot ignore the important foundation of all of our training, which is the Academy product, which covers the platform, the content, and curriculum. Like last year, we have, in fact, after the last meeting, we have added the past events function into the Academy platform. This year, we'll continue the training wiki serve migration. We'll integrate training wiki into the current Academy platform so that academic platform would be the only place for people to go to for our training and technical assistance activities. And some other thing, including like having more training content and also the training certification program design, which is very important for our future development, and we'll have that done by the end of this year. In terms of the roadmap, as Andre mentioned, we have that cover on this roadmap website. I put it here as well. Some kind of highlights of what we did, in 2022. As I mentioned, hands-on part would be important. So virtual labs would cover the needs, and these are the new labs that we added last year. And, in case you did not notice, in fact, we have just published 2 new self-paced learning courses. Introduction to BGP as well as cybersecurity fundamentals. So I especially like the cybersecurity, which is to address the need for security development work. And yeah, please go to the Academy platform and take these courses. I cannot cover a lot, so please refer to my previous presentation about this part. And you can have like full understanding of what we have been doing, for this kind of work. I'm going to cover another part of the work of my team. That's technical infrastructure and operations. And one highlights would be the 5 nines for highly critical services. We receive like requests, to do more on this. And so we did gap analysis, last year for the RPKI, so that we can like understand our gaps, and then we can lay down the plan to address this and to implement something in order to achieve the goal. And we have a draft 3-year plan, and this will be a 3-year plan. Sorry, the letters are too small. I need help. And the consultant actually gave us 8 recommended actions, and we are going to do it over the coming 3 years. And we are trying to cover highly critical services that we have identified, including RPKI, our DNS, our DAP, and WHOIS, which are all under registry product. And because we understand this is something very important, so that's why we want to do a community consultation before we really implement everything. But before that, we understand we are not doing good at or I should say we are not doing good enough on the availability monitoring and measurement. So before even the community consultation, we have started the work, for improving that part. But at the same time, we are preparing for the community consultation. It will be started by the end of March to validate our plan. We'll do it in the form of online survey and interviews. We'll try to do some interviews with some key stakeholders in order to understand more about the inputs and feedbacks. And also we'll do a blog story to cover that when we launch that. And at the same time, we would publish the gap analysis report summary so that you can understand what we see from our consultant. This is the draft plan, and I won't go through all the details. But as I mentioned, in the first half of the year now, we are addressing, the monitoring and measurement part, mainly because if we are talking about 5 nines, we definitely need to, monitor the availability, more closely before we can like know whether we address, the 5 decimal places for the percentage. Now we can only cover, 2 decimal places. And the other work, we hope we will confirm that, after the community consultation. One actually inputs that we have received already is regarding like, whether we really need to do that for certain surfaces, including RPKI and also RDNS, because there are inherent resilience in the protocol already. So we want to receive the inputs from you, but of course, like even like the surfaces to cover. If you have like additional ideas, we hope to get them from you.
To you, can I interrupt once
Yeah.
again? Again, I just want to underscore this. This is a massive project for us as we undertake it. We've done the gap analysis, but we really do need a mandate from the community to proceed with this. Some of the costs involved in this, as you can imagine, are going to be hard-baked into the future. So we really want to understand that this is supported by our members and the broader community. So once again, when this information, if you can keep an eye on the blog, is that right, Chihu?
Yeah.
The blog will
cover that.
We'll cover that, and just keep an eye on what's going on. If you do have any questions or you're not quite sure where to go, you can always direct it directly to one of the people here, myself or Chihu in particular, and we'll see what we can do. But this is, as I said, an important project for us, going to be taking up a lot of energy and funding for the next sort of 2 to 3 years. So
yeah, and that's why we want to validate it before we really implement it. Yeah. And more information about the current thinking, the matrices, the metrics under construction include the number of props, the location of props, the query response RTT, and also the threshold, including not just the percentage, but also like the RTT and others. We'll also see whether you have inputs on this. Related to what I just mentioned, in fact, we also would, cover the cloud and interconnection strategy. We received requests on that. In fact, we have the high-level strategy already internally, but we are going to publish it, later next month. So that you can understand more about what we're thinking. And we cover not just the cloud part, but also the interconnection part, because these two are interrelated. And, we are going to publish it using a blog post, and if you have feedback, and feed them to us. And just a sneak peek, of course, it's not finalized yet. We are doing the final polishing, validation, but our overall high-level goals would be to improve, availability, performance, latency, and security, integrity, resilience would also be the focuses. And we also want to minimize vendor lock-in. And the strategy will cover not just cloud, as I mentioned, but also the network and interconnection. We'll share more in the blog post. And 2 more slides. One related to our work planned for this year for the security infrastructure improvement. We cover the privileged access management, the zero trust network, server access, because it's getting more and more important. We don't want to allow access for certain important servers or services by those colleagues which actually don't need that access. So we'll improve that part. And as you may know, we have successfully gotten the certification for ISO 27001. Going forward, we need to continue to monitor the compliance. So that's why we'll have 2 for that. As for the application security, we are going to do more on the code scanning, so that for whatever software that we write ourselves, we can have more certainty as for the the security compliance. And as for general technical infrastructure and operations improvement, we are going to implement a new ITSM2 using I2 version 4 principles, covering firstly the service requests, incident problem management, as well as change enablement management. And we are planning to further improve our tier 1 support. We are exploring the outsourcing option so that we can have better support, especially in the middle of the nights and also like during holidays. And of course, a lot of IP people will have the issue about as one important or maybe common OS that people are using is CentOS 5, and this year we will spend a lot of effort into upgrading the operating system to the latest operating system with long-term support. That's all I have prepared.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. We've literally taken up 10 minutes to go, just so hang that into that energy. And there's a lot that you need to digest. Any particular questions or comments around the infrastructure or the training items that she's presented? All good. Lily, take it home for us. Thank you.
All right, so I've seen the subtle stretches and people yawning in the audience. So please feel free to stand up for a second and actually take a stretch. My presentation will only take 5 minutes. So,
yes.
And while we're at that, can I ask Dale to bring up my prop?
Dale, it's a prop. Yeah.
Okay, so my presentation will only be a few slides, so it should be over soon. I know everyone's tired and hungry and want lunch. Today, I will be talking to you about the APNIC website refresh project. First of all, I'll just go through some background in terms of how this came about. What we did about this background that we found, what's an activity plan for this, and how you can help us. So the APNIC website, as you may have all seen, is our most visible part in the digital footprint. And it does have the most website traffic. However, it is not performing as well as we thought it would. Basically, what we found in the APNIC survey, which Carla has mentioned, that we conduct every 2 years, we found that there's a bit, about a 25% drop in the usage of the APNIC website. It's also ranked fairly low among products for satisfaction. And here you can see the piece of screenshot taken directly from the report, and I've highlighted that in yellow. So from our investigation, we spent some time in 2022 digging into why this is, and maybe some of the other performance metrics around it. The system usability score was 68, which isn't super low, but it's also not very high. In terms of user research findings, we found that people really struggle to find information that they were looking for, and also some feedback about the look and feel of the website. Now, we know because the last time we updated the website was 7 years ago. So some of the UI elements do look a little bit dated, and we're trying to find a way to fix that. And this brings out the activity plan. So the activity plan is our formal commitment to the community to say, these are the things that we're working on. And this will be a multi-year project. So it could go well into 2024. And we're just getting into it. This is the beginning. We have made a commitment in a number of areas, and this includes the navigation. The navigation really is the primary way for people to find information. And as you know, right now, most of the things are in a massive cluster called About and Community. There are some things that perform fairly well, like Get IP, Manage IP, but we've done a lot of tree testing. We still are doing tree testing at the conference right now to further improve this, because the information is what we're really here for. Visual design. So again, this is really what helps people to organize things in a visual way and quickly make sense of what's in front of them. And we really want to improve this so it looks more modern. Please give us any feedback, any ideas that you might have, because currently there are a number of things that could be improved in terms of spacing or colors, alignment, and even choices in graphics. Content. There's a lot of information on our website, and sometimes it can be really easy to get lost in so many pages. So we are also working hard to improve the writing to make it more concise and more friendly to non-English speakers. And so it also becomes easier for people to learn what they want to learn. And last but not least, we have search. So search is a huge part. Most people actually come to the Whois website to look for, IP addresses, ASN, and have, queries. But our Whois search does have a lot of things around it that make it not as user-friendly. We also have our questions about, do people actually come to the APNIC search box to search within APNIC? Do you want to search all of APNIC, or just the Help Center, just Whois, or maybe just within Orbit? So if you have any thoughts around search, or maybe you would just rather use Google, please tell us, because we know that our search isn't as good as Google search. And if you don't think it's worth members' money to, actually put it towards improving the search, maybe we shouldn't be using members' money to improve search. And of course, accessibility. So this is where you can see accessibility standards being applied not so well. It's an example of our old membership application form where you had to pick the ASN implementation date. And the accessibility audit that we ran found that there's a lot of color contrast issues here with the super light blue and the yellow and the white. And so in the new design system that I've been trying to put forth in our design teams is to actually have color accessibility values ingrained in every shade of color that we have and we choose to use in our design language. So small things like that sometimes can make a huge difference within how someone sees and accesses a product. I just want to mention that your contribution really matters, because sometimes people might feel like, oh, it's just, one opinion, or I'm not important enough, I'm not a huge member, but everyone's voice matters. And we try to encourage participation as much as possible around our surveys, around our user research activities. And right now we're running an activity to help us create this new navigation so that the website information becomes easily accessible and more findable. So please come and visit us at the desk. I'm sure you've seen us already. Me and Dale. Dale, can you wave at everyone? We're just collecting lots of feedback, and we also got some nice merch for you guys. So if you come and have a conversation, you get to have one of these nice water bottles / tea flasks. It is stainless steel. You can put your tea leaves in it and it will have a strainer to stop it from falling out. So you can use it for water or you can use it for tea. It's up to you. Finally, if you don't have time to visit us in person, or if you're joining us online, you can go to Orbit at any time to leave us feedback. The community platform is a great place for everyone's voices to be heard, or just have a discussion about things that you're curious about. We're always there, and we'll try to reply within 24 hours. So yeah, that's everything I have for today. Thank you.
And how about that? We literally have 1 minute to spare. So talking about getting on to the very, very edge of the schedule. So super exciting. And again, we do value your feedback. So with some of the changes we're wanting to make, it'd be really helpful if you can continue to engage with us. So before we let everybody go to lunch and more of the stretching and yawning, is there any questions, any comments, anyone else that would like to raise something with one of our esteemed panel here today? And I'm looking at Sienna if there's anything online. No. Well, we've obviously done a really good job of informing you of everything then. So I'm going to take that as a no, and say very big thank you to everybody for participating today. We hope that this is not the end of the conversation, that this is the beginning of an ongoing conversation. We've talked a lot about continuous improvement here, and that's exactly what we're wanting to do. So please stay in touch, stay online, and thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful lunch. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Wait, we've got to do a selfie, right? Go. Oh, can you get a picture of all of us together, Sunny?